woman says at one point to the people of her town, "Come see a man who told me everything I have done. Could he possibly be the Christ? Come see a man who told me everything I have done." So there's so much that could be said about this gospel. It's just absolutely incredible. I just want to focus on one point about this woman and what it was like for her to meet Jesus. So here she is. She's going to draw water at noon. And why do you think she was drawing water at noon? I mean, it's the hottest part of the day in the Middle East. You'd think most people, if they were going to draw water, if that's what their daily tasks were, they'd go before daylight savings kicks in. Praise God for the internet, because I totally forgot that it was. So you would have had no mass. I would have no, you'd go before the sun, or you'd go after the sun. You'd go in the cooler parts of the day. So why in the world is this woman going at the hottest part of the day by herself? By herself. All alone. Well, we come to find out probably why. So she's had 5 marriages, and they all broke. And now she's with a 6th guy. And you just gotta wonder how much shame that woman felt, and how much pain she carried in her heart from those broken relationships. And probably everyone in the town knew it. And so she probably was an outcast. Now, I want to be really reverent here. I mean, one divorce is super painful. One divorce is super painful. But can you imagine the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th? And now she's with a guy. And maybe in her heart, she starts to believe certain things about marriage, certain things about men, certain things about herself. Like, I'm doomed. This is the best I can hope for in my life. Life doesn't work for me. I know it can work for other people, but life doesn't work for me. Relationships don't work for me. I don't have what it takes. I must be doing something wrong. There must be something wrong about me. This is the best that I can hope for. And what can happen when we live and start to think that way, we can start to settle and kind of resign ourselves in a false way, resign ourselves to, this is my lot in life. This is my lot in life. I'm just going to manage, and I'm going to do the best that I can on my own. Just going to manage and do the best that I can on my own. I got to fend for myself. And so here she is, fending for herself. But something's different now. Because she doesn't meet the same kind of man that she's been meeting her whole life. She meets a different man who sees her in a totally different light. He doesn't use her. He's not going to discard her. And he comes and he asks her for a drink. And you gotta wonder that if he was putting his finger right on a very deep wound. Wait, you're asking me for something? I have nothing more to give. I'm totally spent. Or, everything that's good I've already given away. No, actually, you still have more to give. And actually, you have a goodness in you that you may not see anymore, but what I see. Give me a drink. And Jesus starts this conversation with her, a very healing conversation. And he's slowly opening up her eyes to a new way of being, a new way of seeing, a new way of loving. And it so transforms her from the inside out. It's like she's reborn in this conversation. Have you ever had an experience like that where you're talking with someone and you just feel so seen? You just feel so heard. You feel so loved. Recently, in the last month or so, I was just going through a really hard time. And I couldn't get out of it on my own. And so I reached out to someone who's just incredible to meet. And I met with him and we talked for like an hour. And it really helped me. And I got to meet with him again this past week on Friday. And I was just doing so much better. And I was talking with him, and he's like, "Why are you doing so much better? Is there what from our conversation helped you?" And I told him, I said, "Honestly, I can't put my finger on a single thing. I just felt so heard. I just felt like you heard me, and that just was the difference. It just helped me so much to be known." And then I shared a few things that, like, in my mind were not okay. And then but in his mind, it was like, "Oh, it's okay." And I was like, "Oh, it's okay to have these hard things." Because sometimes you and I can think it's not okay to be going through a hard time. Like, if I was a better person, I would not have any struggles in life. And I was like, I just was seen. I just was heard. I was loved right where I was. I didn't have to be anywhere else than where I was to be loved. And it changed me. So this woman, she is loved by Jesus, and she goes back to her town, and she says, "Come see a man who told me everything I'd ever done." And you almost kind of wonder if the townspeople are like, "We already know what you've done. We've been throwing it in your face for the last 10 years. We know who you are. We had labeled you, we put you in a box, and we set you aside. We put you in your place. We know who you are. We know what you've done." And she's like, "You actually don't know me. You actually don't know what I've done. You don't know who I am, but I have met a man who has known me. Come meet this man. Could he possibly be the Messiah? I've never been looked at like this man looked at me. I've never been spoken to and loved and known like this man has." And they're like, "This woman is different. I have to go see who she met." And they went off. You see, Jesus, when he sees you, he doesn't just see your sin. Sometimes you and I, when we look at others or we look at ourselves, we only see sin. And we can be very tempted to draw an equal sign between the person and their sin and say, "That's who they are. That's who I am." We want it to be our identity. And Jesus, he says, that is not who you are. In my eyes, I see way deeper than that. You're made in my image. And I will lay down my life for you. So today, if you find yourself wanting to draw an equal sign between your past, between a sin, wanting to believe about yourself that this is who I am, this is my lot in life, this is the best I can hope for, I want you to meet Jesus just like this woman did, and allow him to see you. Allow him to know you. He's gentle, he's kind, he's compassionate, he's loving. He'll put his finger right on what's hurting and say, give me a drink. And you can today be reborn from the inside out. It only takes one conversation with Jesus to become new. One. It doesn't matter if you're on your 6th marriage. You can become new with one conversation with Jesus. You know, you and I are not a statistic. We're not a trend. We're not a number or a problem to be solved or fixed in God's eyes. Artificial intelligence, it works on trends, statistics, numbers. But you are a person made in God's image. And God sees you and loves you. Come see a man who told me everything I'd ever done and still loved me. Could he possibly be the Christ?